Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another interview of Tips to Top the Unofficial Bar. And today I have with me President Counsel Kuvera de Zoysa, a senior counsel in the civil and commercial law in the country, and he's going to share with me tips to top the unofficial bar. Sir, thank you for the time for the interview. First of all, I would like to first hear from you the beginning of your professional career, especially the time you spent as a student and the time you did your apprentice, etc.
Yes, Kamal, I joined the Sri Lanka Law College in the year 1990 after successfully completing my advanced level in the year 1987. My initial ambition or the intention was to do business management and then subsequently take over to law, because I had the influence of my family, because I am the third generation of lawyers in my family. So my grandfather, my father, my great granduncles, all of them were lawyers. So I had the legal backing to become a lawyer. I sat for my advanced level in the year 1987. Then I was chosen to the management faculty of Javadanpura. Unfortunately, as the time was at then, the universities were shut down and they were not operating, they were not fully functional. So I was compelled. So from 87 to 1990, it was a very frustrating period where I could not commence my studies at the university, though I was selected. So then I thought, no point wasting time. I dropped my university career, I gave up my university career, and I joined the Sri Lanka Law College. So at Sri Lanka Law College, he was basically involved mostly in student politics. And in the year 1991, I was selected as the sports secretary with an overwhelming majority. I would say, I think my majority at the Sri Lanka Law College still is the highest.
What was the
300, and I got 330 odd votes more than my opponent, whereas he got, he got only 320 votes. So then in the subsequent year in 1992, I was elected the president of the Law Students Union. So I was, my law college career was, more than the studies. I was involved with a lot of student politics, student activities. I was a member of the law college English debating team. I was in the rugby team. I won rugby colours at law college, and I played cricket and so many sports, and that was my career. So mainly where I met my wife. So for getting through the exams, so mostly I depended on my wife for her notes, and she used to tell me just before the exam, these are the probable questions, because she used to study, follow her lectures, and so that was my law college career. So then when I sat for my finals, pending our final year results, at that time Justice Mark Fernand was a Supreme Court judge, a respected Supreme Court judge at that time. He introduced what we call a student internship, I think, which was very useful to students at that time. I don't think that scheme is in operation now.
Not available now.
Yes. So myself and two others were selected to be absorbed to the Attorney General's Department as legal interns. And yes, three of us joined, and we were also paid at that time 3,000 rupees for a month as a legal intern. As a student, that's a lot of money for us. And we were, myself and two others, I think one is now Deputy Solicitor General who is at the department, and the other gentleman is no longer there. I think he is in the United States of America. So three of us were absorbed to a unit called the ER. At that time mainly handled the cases under the emergency regulations and the Prevention of Terrorism Act. So we were working there under a senior state counsel. So we got our final year results, and then three of us were absorbed back again to the department as apprentices, and our monthly allowance was increased from 3,000 to 5,000. So which prompted us to stay in the department, and it was a very useful experience. So then at the same time I did some work with Mr. Arthur Samarasekara, President's Counsel. He was a very learned counsel in the field of land law, property law. So of course my father also assisted in my work. So that was my basically my student life at law college and the beginnings of my professional career.
So today now, you being in the practice especially on the commercial and civil matter, in addition to that you held positions in different banks as a director, and still you are a director on several even finance companies. Now that is something extra a lawyer can achieve, like you being in the profession doing litigation, at the same time you holding position in different finance institutions. Was that a challenge for you to do both, like having responsibility in different companies and doing professional work?
Yeah, in my life, I would say, I had the habit of, I was never, though I was focused, I'm very much focused on my legal career as a practitioner. So, I always thought in this country, the legal field and especially the lawyers are not keeping up with the global demands. They are very outdated, old-fashioned, and I must do something unique. So having that in mind, to get for that I have had the experience, because a couple of my relations are overseas. I mean, the experiences they share with me, some of them say that especially in US, countries like US, maybe United Kingdom, Australia, for that matter Singapore, some of the CEOs in companies are also lawyers. They also hold key positions. Essentially, I mean, you need not be a practitioner, but there's a lot of scope and opportunity for legal personnel, and which I don't think in this country has properly been exploited. So with having that in mind, so unfortunately or fortunately, I got the opportunity of holding such positions, and I was appointed as a director at the People's Bank. Then I ended up there as the acting chairman. I mean, which gave me a lot of experience as to how a company is being managed, what are the responsibilities and duties of a director, and a lot of exposure, in-depth exposure into the commercial field. So that was very useful in my practice as a commercial lawyer, to practically understand or grasp a commercial issue. So I would say having that experience helped me a lot when it comes to commercial matters, because I was on a couple of boards in companies, and still I continue to be on a couple of boards of various companies. But I would say at the same time I really enjoy being practicing as a practitioner. But I mean, I would say very frankly that I enjoy practicing as a practitioner because of the influence that I have being in the commercial sector as well.
And so you had a very important point, because we tend to think when you become a lawyer, your talent is limited to the courtroom function. No, it is not. So
it is not.
As you correctly highlighted, there are different avenues, and some are much prospective compared to the professional practice. And that is, I think, the very important message from you to the young lawyers, that if you are doing, especially in the commercial, we are not only the courtroom practice, but they are being a director, holding companies. Sir, during this 2 decades long your experience in the profession, I'm sure you must have had number of experience, and from some of which we can also learn something to be a better lawyer. Would you like to share some of those experiences?
Yeah, Kamal, I think the very first advice or what I should share is, when I entered this profession, I hardly knew, other than the fundamentals and the basics of different disciplines of law. I did not know the substantial side to it. So once I came to practice, I realized, what we study at law college or in the law school, and when we come to practice, I mean, it's completely different. So there had to be a effort on the part of a junior lawyer a lot of hard work involved. So fortunately, when I had the opportunity of working under a good senior, Mr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa, President's Counsel. At that time, when I joined him, I would say that that was the time that he was coming to his peak in his legal career. Then he was not involved in politics per se. Like today, I'm talking the 1990s. So I got a lot of briefs from him, opportunities. So there is saying that the seniors, there is saying to say that the senior's absence is a junior's opportunity.
Right.
So he had so many cases at that time, and simply he couldn't handle it on his own. So he used to share those briefs with me, and he had the confidence in giving me some of the briefs. So I had the opportunity of appearing on my own. So one day I remember still, at that time, I think in the District Court of Colombo, I was appearing before now presently Justice Chandrayakanayak, who was the district judge then. And when I was appearing in a case, one of Mr. Rajapaksa juniors came and told me, some other case has been taken in a different court, and that no law is there. Can you please come? Because the judge is making a fuss. So I was compelled to mention this to that time Justice Ekanayak, who was the district judge then. Then she understood. She accommodated me, and that case was halfway being proceeded. So when I went to that court, first thing I saw was, as I entered, now I think the district court number 2, I think if I remember right, at that time, was it who ended up as a Supreme Court judge? I think Justice Bala Patabandia or Justice Soman, sir. He was seated on the bench, and there was a priest inside the witness box, seated. And I saw Queen's Counsel A.C. Gunratne standing with a whole heap of bunch of lawyers on the other side of the table, and on this side the table was empty. So as I entered, the judge who was presiding asked me, "Are you one of Mr. Rajapaksa juniors?" And I had to say yes. There is nobody, and the judge was making a fuss. And I am going to take up this case. Get ready. So then I didn't know anything about this case. I saw a brief on the table on the other side, where I told you nobody is seated. I saw a case file, and I recognized that file to be one of Mr. Rajapaksa's files, being in the chamber. So he said, no, what's your name? Because this was the first time that I had this experience before this judge, and he asked my name, and he said, "Mr. De Zoysa, now you have to start the case." I said, no, you have to cross-examine the witness. So then I didn't know head or tail about this case. So then I looked at the brief. Then he also said, probably that is your Mr. Rajapaksa's brief. Where is Mr. Rajapaksa? I said, I think he is in the Supreme Court or in the Court of Appeal. No, I can't wait. I have to start this case. Mr. A.C. Gunratne is here. He's a Queen's Counsel and all this, no other matters. So then I told him, "Sir, can you give me, because I'm not the detained junior in this case, can you give me 5 to 10 minutes? Then he reluctantly said, he was fussing, and okay, I'll give you 5 minutes, you just go through the brief. So what I did was, in the given time, so I just glanced through the plaint, the answer and the issues, and I just managed to grasp what this case is all about. It was a temple case concerning dispute about Viharadinship. So, and Mr. Gunaratna, A.C. Gunaratna at that time was a very famous lawyer, and he was retained in almost every other temple case. So then I was a very raw junior. I'm talking, I would not have been even 1 year in practice, maybe just close upon, and opposed to a Queen's Counsel. So I started cross-examining because I was asking questions about when did you become a priest and things like that, and I was marking time and I was going on. So then I also, I was enjoying this, and that priest was sometimes getting annoyed with my questions. And after about half an hour, Mr. Rajapaksa walked in. He came crashing into court, saying that, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, I was held up in the Supreme Court," and things like that. And Then this judge who was beside him said, Mr. Rajapaksa, your junior did a wonderful job. Then Mr. Rajapaksa was trying to take over the cross-examination. He said, no, let him continue. I'll let him continue to a point, and anyway I had to adjourn now, something in the afternoon. So on the next date, I strongly advise Mr. Rajapaksa, I think he's capable of handling this case. Why don't you send him if you're, So then that really motivated me, So then, because very few people in this profession at the very beginning would appreciate you, I would say very frankly. This is, very few people would help you. So this really motivated, and then that's one experience, to build up self-confidence. I think if you have your self-confidence, and I had the opportunity at that time being opposed to Queen's Counsel, being a very raw junior to learn at President's Counsel. So build up your self-confidence. If you have self-confidence, I think you can do wonders.
And more than anything, the fact that you were able to grasp the things within 5 minutes and to be present and do the cross-section, I think that is one of the important talent a lawyer should have, to grasp things quickly and act upon.
And to be very frank, one other thing that I would like to share is, as a junior, the very first thing is study your case, know your facts. Law will follow. Because at that time, what I realized was some of these seniors, with all due respect to these seniors, I'm also senior enough to say that, they don't, some of them hardly study a brief. They bat on with their experience. So, they have done the case once, they know. But when it comes to the finer points, I have had this experience where if you are very conversant and if you know your facts, you can outsmart some of these seniors. So because seniors would probably know the law with, this law is a learning process, you learn every day. Sometimes because they are too busy with their work, there are too many briefs, so they tend to sometimes disregard certain things in a brief, certain facts. So if you know your facts, you can, though you are a junior, I would say that you can really take on any senior, and that would really give you confidence. That's what you need at the initial threshold stage, is that you need to get your confidence right.
So today you are a very successful counsel, a known counsel in the civil and commercial. You have a very beautiful chamber, actually. What is the secret of your success? You were the third generation of your family as a lawyer, but was that the only reason you being a success?
Kamal, yeah, I always like challenges in life. Though I had the opportunity of, taking up my father's practice. He was a well-known lawyer in Negombo.
Not in Colombo.
Not in Colombo. He was the leading lawyer, civil lawyer there. He known as Kuvera de Zoysa, Kuvera de Zoysa. I thought, being with my father was not challenging for me. It was not good enough. So I thought that I must start on my own one day. And so I got this opportunity, as I told you earlier, to work with Mr. Rajapaksa. Within a short period of time, I told you at that time he was also my senior then. He was also coming up, to his peak at that time. So I used to work with him till about, in his chambers, till about 12 o'clock in the night. So he used to hand over a couple of briefs saying that, Kuvera, these are the cases for tomorrow. You need to study. So 3-4 cases, sometimes when I look at them, most of the cases, President's Counsel were the opposing counsels. So I had to come back. At that time I was not married when I started my career. I was virtually in a rented out small annex living. So sometimes I had to, from Navala where Mr. Rajapaksa was living, I had to go to Bambalapitiya to have my dinner because no place was open at that time, 12 o'clock. So I used to come back, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours of sleep some days. Because I was worried, as a junior you are very worried when you are given briefs, you are supposed to see a President's Counsel, without knowing your case, you can't take that chance of going to court. So I used to come back home, 3:30 I used to get up, keep the alarm and get up, and I used to study my briefs. So initially, I mean, even of that date, even today, it's hard work matters in this profession. It's nothing but hard work. You have to be focused on what you are doing. Hard work, and you have to do a lot of reading. I mean, you have to be updated with the latest, I mean, decisions when it comes to various fields of law. So reading also. So I used to come to court, do my cases. So I had to get back to chambers by about 4 o'clock, where we started work. So during that period, I mean, after lunch, I mean, our cases are generally over by about 1:30, 2 o'clock. So during that period, I had a quick lunch. I used to go to the library those days because I didn't have my own library, and I used to refer, various textbooks and law reports, and so I used to gather my knowledge. And I would, because I was in the field of civil law, and I bought a civil procedure code, and I always carried my civil procedure code and the evidence ordinance, which most of the juniors don't do today. So those days in the district court, a lot of law was being argued. So other than the substantial law when it comes to different fields, I mean, first thing I think you would agree with me that you should know the procedure, how things happen in a court of law. I mean, in our system, when it comes to civil law, it's everything is regulated by the civil procedure code. So if you don't know your procedure, and since if you are in the original court where evidence, witnesses, evidence matters, then you have to know your evidence ordinance. So whenever a point was being argued or whenever there was an issue, even if I was not in that case, I used to slowly, turn the pages and look for that, and I remembered in that, rather than what we used to study for exams, which was wholly academic exercise. With a practical issue, when you turn pages in your books, I mean, with having that practical issue in mind, it's very easy to remember things. So I gathered knowledge like that. So that is, I think, you need to be focused, committed, and hard work. I think that is, your commitment is required. So with all that in place, I was able, in the year 2007, I won the award for being the most outstanding young person's award for legal accomplishment, which very few people have. I mean, I would say the best in the field. I think the very first recipient was Mr. Romesh De Silva. Mr. Rajapaksa also won that award, and I won it, and subsequently many others have also won it. So which managed for me to, receive that award as well in recognition of my work.
And that shows you are special in this profession. And so finally, would you like to tell, especially for lawyers, young lawyers who want to be a counsel in the commercial areas, what is your advice? I mean, if they watch this interview so far, there are so many advice. But finally, if you want to give one word to them, it's like they want to be like you, what is the final advice?
I would advise, my advice to them is, I see a difference, maybe during this time, a lot of junior counsel, I think their first concern is the money side to this. If you try to earn money at the very beginning, I think you are going on the wrong track. If first learn your work, whatever field you are in, you may specialize, you may join a specialist chamber for that matter. Maybe when it comes to commercial law, when it comes to shipping, various other fields. Do it well. What you learn it right, the right way. First learn your work, money will follow you. I mean, there is a saying, once again to say that, initially when you start, no work, no money. Then you get work, less money. Then you get work as well as money. Then the final stage is you reduce your volume, you have more money, less work.
I don't ask you at what stage you are now, but thank you for, please.
So having that in mind, I think I want to say one thing, Kamal. When I won this award in the year 2007, my other ambition is to revolutionize the legal profession in this country. I mean, I have had the opportunity of meeting various lawyers from various jurisdictions, from various countries. I think the laws that regulate the legal profession in this country are highly inadequate. Now, especially for in England, you can start limited liability partnerships or law firms. You can have private companies. I mean, England is, some of the countries are looking at, listing law firms in the stock exchange. You take the legal profession to a different level. I mean, in this country, advertising is completely banned. I mean, are we on the right direction? When you look at the world is getting smaller with globalization. I mean, so having that in mind, I'm proud to say that I started a law firm, which is, I would say, the first counsel's law firm in this country, which is in operation for for valid reasons. I can't give you details. So my aim one day is to, I have had the opportunity of discussing these issues with His Lordship the Chief Justice, with His Excellency the President, taking the legal profession to a different level in this country. Because we need to participate more with our core activities towards development in the country. So when I chaired the National Law Conference in the year 2013, I think I highlighted and I made a lot of emphasis of the fact that we need to change certain how we are, the direction that this legal profession, because there is a saying that the lawyers are a dying breed. Whether people will require lawyers in future. Yeah, because now because of the technological advances, anybody can access any legal point on the Google, and there are so many sites. So we need to get into different disciplines. I mean, accounting, when you say law, accounting, business, finance, there are a lot of opportunity, and every year more than 800 lawyers join the legal field in this country. So what are they going to do? Are all of them going to end up as practitioners? And career guidance at the law college level, at the law school, you need to tell them these are the opportunities that are available. Fortunately for me, when I came over, because I came from a legal background, I had some idea or knowledge as to what I should be doing. And I think most of the law students, when they pass out from law college, virtually they are clueless as to what they should be doing. That is the time they go in search of a senior lawyer. It's very difficult to find a practitioner's chamber. So these are some of the things that I would like to highlight, and these issues need to be addressed.
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, what you're trying to do is to save the legal profession for the future. As you said, if you go in the way we go now, as you said, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, there won't be any necessity for a lawyer. But your vision is very much appreciated, and I, as a young lawyer, I very much support for your notion and ideas. I believe that everyone in the profession should support you, and I thank you very much for giving time and sharing wonderful thoughts for the young lawyers and students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you very much.